I saw there was a small trap door to the side of the cabinet. As soon as I opened it, I saw a movement and then saw a person for a split second. They slammed the door back shut on me. My true house cleaning horror story. This happened 7.5 years ago, June 23, 2016, while I was cleaning out my house. I was renting a house for a year, and the year was almost up. I wasn't going to be living there the next year, so it was time for me to start cleaning out and moving my stuff to my next place. The house that I had at the time was fairly small, but it was plenty of space for just me. I lived there by myself, and I had just finished cleaning out the living room, other than some basic furniture, and I had moved on to clean the kitchen. There were quite a few cabinets, so many that I didn't use a good number of them. I was looking through some of the ones that I didn't use, to make sure that there was nothing I had in them. One of them I opened up and I saw something in the back corner. It looked like some type of shirt or rag. I grabbed it and saw that I didn't think it was mine, but when I moved it, it revealed a small white lever that I could barely see. The cabinet was in the corner, sorted by the sink and halfway blocked by the stove. I thought it was just another pipe, but it just looked a little different to me. I got inside and had to crawl inside the cabinet, which was pretty large. Once I got inside, I saw there was a small trap door to the side, leading into the wall. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. You had to be completely inside in order to see the detail of it, and I decided to open the door, which led to an extremely narrow hallway with a sort of crawl space. But when I got farther inside, I was horrified. I saw that there was food, as well as several blankets, as if someone had been living inside of there. The good news, at least to me, is that whoever was in there was gone. I tried to make sense of it, and figure out how long the person had been there, and how I didn't know about it. I was gone from the house a lot with work and other stuff, but I didn't know how it was possible for someone to live in there without me knowing. I continued cleaning until it got pretty late, and the next day after work, I continued. I was still kind of in shock with finding a secret room in my house, and decided to look at it once again. I opened the cabinet and went inside, then I pulled the lever open just like I had the previous day. But this time, as soon as I opened it, I saw a movement, and then saw a person for a split second. They slammed the door back shut on me, and I immediately turned and ran all the way out of my house to my car, and then called the police. I was so scared that I started driving away as well. I opened up my phone, told the police the whole situation, and they came to my house a short time later to find that whoever had been there was now gone. I was absolutely disgusted knowing that this random person had access to my house for who knows how long. It felt like a vivid nightmare I need to wake up from. When I opened up my phone to call the police, it showed that the date was June 23, 2016. I still remember this date, 7 years later. It stayed with me like a scar. A scar I don't know if I will ever heal from. Luckily for me, I moved out the next week. I really don't know how long the person was living in my secret room, but thankfully it never gave me a problem. Thanks for reading my true horror story. As someone who has already experienced things like home invasion, I would always suggest that you lock your doors, because you can never know what people can do when they are in your house. I think it was the landlord trying to be financially free by living rent-free. What did the police say? They were as equally shocked as I was and said it was most likely a homeless person looking for shelter in my house. When I asked how long he had been there, they said it could have been anywhere from a few days to even a few weeks, but the exact time was difficult to determine. They advised me to change all of the house keys, but I told them I was going to find a new place anyway and pack my belongings the next day. I still suspect the homeowner is involved in some way to this case because the homeless man had gained entry to my house and found the secret room. But because I moved so quickly, I never saw the homeowner again and lost contact with him. The person probably an old tenant and been there for a while. Someone pushed me out my own window in my own house while my daughter was sleeping upstairs. So, this happened a couple of years ago. We used to live in a house in the mountains. The only neighbor we had wasn't that close from our home, so there's literally no one around. This happened a Sunday. I had my daughter, she was 13, coming for the weekend, and she was sleeping upstairs. My bedroom is downstairs. I was in the living room watching TV when I decided to go outside to contemplate the stars. The thing is that I had to leave my door semi-opened because there's only one handle, logically, inside the house, and the other side of the door can only be opened with a key, so no handle from outside. I contemplated the stars for about 5 minutes. Then I felt like I could smell a weird smell. I went back inside. It was 3 a.m., so I decided to go back to sleep. Then I woke up at 6 a.m. I could see the sunrise, so I decided to open my window, since it was extremely hot inside, and stand up at the edge of the window from outside. Suddenly, I felt like a hand was pushing me in my back. I got pushed from my window by someone. Thing is, there was only me and my daughter in my house, and I got pushed out of my own house by a stranger, and my daughter was still inside. Since the window was closed, I couldn't open the front door either, because I didn't have the keys. I knew that my neighbor was a locksmith, so I subsequently rushed to his house, woke him up at 6 a.m. and explained the situation to him. He took his stuff and came with me to my house. Now I'll tell you what my daughter told me. She told me that she could hear an old man coughing and that she didn't recognize the cough, so she instantly went into the bathroom, locked the door of the bathroom. The door of her bedroom didn't have a lock, only the bathroom did, and she turned on the tap while she was calling the police. My neighbor managed to open the door. We rushed upstairs. Whilst going upstairs, I saw that a knife was missing from my knife set in the kitchen. We went upstairs. We saw that the door of my daughter was opened. We turned on the lights and saw an old man with a hood holding one of my knives waiting in front of the bathroom door. My neighbor and I beat the living shit out of him and waited until the police came. The man got arrested, and the week after that we moved into another county. Did they ever find out why he was in there? What he planned to do? That's so crazy, and I'm glad everything turned out all right for you and your daughter. Well, apparently, he didn't know why he was there, and he also doesn't remember why he was there either. I looked down the corridor and watched for a second, seeing only a little slice of the blackness up in my attic, and I saw the human hands still holding onto the sides of my ceiling. I yelled, "Whoever is there, I am calling the police." The man in my attic. So, I, 24 male, have lived on my own for about 2 years now. I have a very small bungalow I'm able to pretty comfortably afford. In this bungalow, I have an attic area. At a guess, I'd say it's about 5 by 5 meters in size, and you can only really stand in there in the very center. Anyway, I work the night shift at a factory. I basically just sit on my phone all night, so I usually get in at around about 8 a.m. I was coming home last Thursday during a heavy storm, and I got into the house and just went to sleep. When I woke up, I went on my phone and saw that I was so tired that I didn't check my notifications. I have a Ring camera outside my door which shows me anyone who would have come to my room. I saw that it had been tripped at 7:42 a.m. I got into the house at around 8:10 to 15 a.m. I checked the video and saw that it was a man. He was pressed right up to the door and was fumbling around with the handle. He did this for about 10 seconds until he spotted the camera. Once he did, he very quickly scuttled away. This unsettled me but didn't entirely creep me out or anything. I got up to go make some food and discovered something in my kitchen. My back window was open. I of course instantly began having the thoughts of a home intruder, but slowly chilled out as I convinced myself I had left it open. The rest of the day consisted of this, just noticing small things that didn't seem right and scaring myself. All up until the point I leave for the shift at 10 p.m. and I was watching some TV at 9 o'clock-ish. I spotted something that made my heart leap into my throat. Out of the corner of my eye I could see it. My attic entrance was slowly being slid open. I can so vividly remember that I began questioning my sanity. Surely, I was just hallucinating or something. I looked over at it and absolutely saw something that made me so much more scared. I saw fingers wrap around the hatch and begin moving it more. I didn't know what to do. I could feel the panic beginning to really get to me, and I wasn't sure if I should leave the house and call the police or if I should try and yell at whoever was up there. I chose a mixture of both. I began dialing 999 and ran to my bedroom where I could lock the door. As soon as I began running, I heard the hatch get almost teared off with the speed they moved it, and I arrived at my bedroom door. I looked down the corridor and watched for a second, seeing only a little slice of the blackness up in my attic, and I saw the human hands still holding onto the sides of my ceiling. I yelled, "Whoever is there, I am calling the police and I have a weapon." I did not have one. "If you take a step out of there, I will freaking hurt you." The adrenaline was really making my hands and voice shake, but I tried sounding as tough as I could. Then I saw something that I truly do not think I will ever forget. The hands slipped back into the dark, and then he dropped down. I slammed my door shut and locked it as quickly as I could. The call went through and I was able to get on a line with the police, and they dispatched officers to my house. I told them I didn't know if the man was armed or not, and the dispatcher told me to stay on the line. I heard the man walking up to my door and rattling the door handle. He also seemingly went through my cupboards in my kitchen, as I heard a lot of commotion there. Truth be told, I don't know why he stayed. I would have just left the house, but he stayed right up until the police came in and arrested him. Apparently, he was a homeless man and was armed with a knife from my kitchen and had recently been seen in the area trying to get into other houses. Truth be told, I'm very frightened to sleep still. I now sleep with my bedroom door locked and all my windows closed. I also sleep with a knife under my pillow. I know that this is unlikely to ever happen again, but I just cannot forget the way he dropped down from my attic. So that's the story of the scariest thing that's ever happened to me. Thank you so much for sharing this. It must have been so terrifying because I get goosebumps simply from reading this post. I admire you for being brave enough to open up, and you should know that we, some bunch of internet strangers from all around the world, support you. The healing process from this incident will take slow. Don't force it, and you can do it. How awful for you. How brave you were. I could feel your terror through your articulate writing. He is in jail now, and you are safe, though it will take a while to feel so, understandably. Do you have someone who can stay with you for a while? My uncle had a homeless man living in his attic right after his wife passed away. He chalked the noises he heard up to my aunt watching over him until he started noticing food go missing. Ghosts don't eat. He ended up calling the police non-emergency line, and they came out and searched his house. Found the man's bedroll and some odds and ends in the attic. Arrested him when he tried to get back in through an unlatched window. The man had been living there for a while, it looked like. Scared the shit out of my uncle, but the house was where his memories of his wife were, and he refused to move for years. I don't know how he could stand it. I'd have sold up and moved. Glad you weren't hurt. Maybe get an alarm system or even a big dog if you can. They say the safest homes are the ones with both. Make sure your doors and windows are locked and get a home security system since they can detect motion. I told him again that he had the wrong address and he got really angry. He kept telling me to open the door. The stranger had turned into a broken record. Come downstairs. Open the door. Come downstairs and open the door. I didn't order pizza. This happened quite a while ago when I was home alone with just my dog. After all this time, I'm sure what happened was really strange, and I have no idea what this man actually wanted. So, I was watching TV one night at about 11 p.m. when I heard a car pull up outside and the engine shut off. I figured it was obviously a neighbor, but nosy dog wanted to have a look and went to the window. He'd kind of messed the blinds up when he went to look, so I got up to fix them. When I did, I noticed a car parked on the street across from my house and my neighbor's house. I couldn't really make out any details, but it looked like the driver was still sitting in the car. I didn't really think anything of it. I got a drink and went back to watching TV. Quite a while had passed since I fixed the blinds, but I'm not sure how long. I'd guess 15 to 20 minutes. Out of nowhere, I thought I heard a tapping at the door. Not a knock, it was much lighter and very quiet. My dog had sat up to look at the door, and I paused the TV when the same tapping then started on the window. I opened the blinds a little and saw a man standing there. I couldn't make out his face properly, and he immediately walked back to the door and started tapping at it again. This doesn't sound very frightening, and I'm not sure why, but I suddenly had a really awful feeling. I felt absolutely terrified and had no idea why. The tapping at the door never stopped, but something in my head was saying if I opened the door to him, then something really bad would happen. I went upstairs to open a window to ask what he wanted. It felt safer doing this. He said in a really quiet voice he was delivering pizza and told me how much it cost. I felt so stupid for being frightened and told him I didn't order pizza. I guessed he was speaking quietly and knocking lightly so he didn't disturb my neighbors. My dog had followed me upstairs and was letting out the odd growl and bark, which isn't really unusual for him. I was trying to shush him when the man downstairs told me he had the correct address and I better get downstairs now and open the door to pay what I owed and collect my food before it got cold. I was really confused because I most definitely didn't order any food and began telling him that again when I noticed he didn't have a pizza. He wasn't carrying anything at all. I told him again that he had the wrong address and he got really angry. He kept telling me to open the door. He was going between angry and sort of trying to persuade me to go back downstairs. I asked him where the pizza was. He said he was holding it. It was really dark, but he definitely didn't have anything in his hands. My dog was really making quite a bit of fuss at this point, and the stranger had turned into a broken record. Come downstairs. Open the door. Come downstairs and open the door. All the noise must have alerted my neighbor, who did open his front door. And the man didn't say a word, but practically ran across the street to the car that I had heard pull up a while ago. He went back to the car empty-handed. I have no idea what he wanted, but he certainly wasn't a delivery driver. It really freaked me out as well that my dog is quite obviously a large breed and the man saw him through the window. He wasn't deterred at all. It seems even stranger and less random that he actually drove to my house as though he'd planned on showing up. I'm so glad that you listened to your gut and didn't open that door. This might sound dramatic, but usually when something like this happens, you should file a police report right away if at all possible. I can't remember exactly where I learned this, but that light tapping I think is a break-in tactic used to test and see if anybody is awake when they expect there to be somebody in the house. He wanted you to open the door for a pizza you didn't order, didn't want, and that he didn't have in his hands. Or he was just hoping that you'd be asleep already so that he could break in and didn't have a backup for when you weren't. Even if this guy wasn't stalking you or something, he was not there to be nice. You would ideally want a paper trail of complaints. Cops can always ask your neighbors what they saw too, and even an extra patrol in case he came back or targeted a different house or person in the same neighborhood. You know, I used to think that filing a police report for minor things was a waste of time and nothing would ever come of it. I called the cops once on an ex that was stalking me and being over the top creepy. 13 years later, he was arrested for stealing one of his high school students' phone numbers and forcing her into a sexual relationship. That report didn't help me, but I'm sure it helped with her case. Even if you don't have the person's information, you never know what may happen in the future or what past reports may lend credence in a situation when you need it. This seems to be a new way of people robbing other people's houses. I just watched a Ring doorbell recording of someone doing the same thing but with Chinese food. After the person said they were calling the cops, like 6 people jumped out of the bushes and ran off. Good thing you didn't open the door. I wonder why they never called the cops in the moment, like there was no need to try and convince them that you did not order the pizza. We've come to the end. Leave your thoughts in the comment section. Please like, share, subscribe for more. Bye.